Ollie, we've got a weird one and we need your help fast. I said, okay. Sorry, oh, just woke up. Who is this? It was an early morning call. Ollie was not ready. It's Tony Oshevsky, Baltimore County Executive, and Ollie, you've got an emergency. Right up your alley. There's a giant, I guess I'd call it an ogre, stomping around Timonium. I said, oh, a giant, okay, all right. Okay, you've got a giant monster. An ogre, you said? I said, yeah, it's the only way to describe it. Have you seen the Shrek movies? I said, yeah, not all of them, but yeah, I've seen Shrek, yeah. And there's a giant thing that looks like Shrek. Yes, sort of. Close enough anyway. Stomping around Timonium. It's already done, I don't know if it's a girl or a boy. It's already done hundreds of thousands of dollars to the fairgrounds, and it flattened a gas station. Luckily, it didn't break any of the tanks, because that could be a whole thing. We need you here right away, Ollie. Well, we took the liberty that we're sending a helicopter. We've got permission from the hospital there to pick you up there, hoping you'll be willing. I said, yeah, okay, yeah, certainly. I'll help. I need some coffee and a little breakfast. And Johnny said, okay, yes, I can have some waiting for you here. How do you take your coffee? Well, I said, a little bit of cream. Just a little bit of cream would be great. Pretty big cup, I think. Like a large coffee. I said, all right, and what do you want for breakfast? Just donuts will be fine, I guess. Yeah, donuts. Great. They'll be waiting for you when you land. So Ollie shook his head, washed his face, got his, monster fighting bag, which sometimes comes in handy and sometimes doesn't, and headed over to the hospital. He went up to the top floor, and there already was a couple of officers waiting there, police officers. One from Baltimore City and two from the county. I said, Ollie, you're here. Great. We're ready for you. I said, yeah, okay. So the helicopter's already here? I said, yep, you can just come right with us. Thanks for being willing to come. Sure, yeah, that's a thing I do, apparently. So they went under the helicopter pad, and then there was a Baltimore County Police helicopter there waiting for them, and they all loaded in, and they fit Ollie with earmuffs. That's what I'm looking for. Fit Ollie with some earmuffs so that he'd be safe. Ears be safe. And off they flew. It wasn't a far flight, but it would made sense to try and do it quickly with the helicopter, since they had the helicopter anyway. And they flew straight out to a hospital there in Timonium. And all I could see when they flew up, this giant ogre. He said, can we do a quick buzz around the ogre so I can get a good look at what's going on before we land? And the pilot said, yeah, it's a good idea. I need to stay pretty far away, though. It's got long arms, and I don't want us to get swatted out of the air. So they flew over toward the ogre. It was big. It was probably 5 stories tall, like as big as a 5-story building. Very big. And it looked very puffy, like swollen almost. It was green, but it had some veins and stuff. And it was stumbling around. It looked confused and disoriented. That was all I could tell from looking. So they went and they landed at the hospital, which was nearby. Far enough away that it was safe. For now. But close. When they landed, the county executive was there waiting with coffee and donuts from a local place there. I said, oh, thanks. This will get my brain really going. I drank the coffee, ate the donuts. Sure, okay, so tell me what you know. I said, right, well, it just sort of appeared this morning. we were just going about our normal, Tuesday kind of a business, and all of a sudden we got this call about a monster. When they called, they said it was 2 stories high. So I think maybe they were just wrong, but I think it maybe even got bigger. At first we thought it was just a joke or a prank, but then we got more calls. And we quickly realized that it was a real situation. And one of my team, VJ, I guess you've worked with him before, he said you'd be the guy to call. It showed up right there on New York Road, and it started off wandering around in the fairgrounds. Stomped around in there for a little bit, came over and stomped around in one of the gas stations, then stomped back over. It's still in the fairgrounds now, doing a lot of damage. We have insurance, but still. I said, yeah, no, it's not good. It looks confused. And they said, yeah, I noticed that too. Whatever it is, it's not having a good day. I don't think it's trying to hurt us. I don't think it's trying to be awful. Whatever it is, however it got here, I think it's in trouble. Maybe we can help it. I don't know. But we also need to stop it from destroying, buildings and people and cars. And this is people's livelihood, I said, yeah, that's a big deal. All right, let's get over there. And is there a physician that we could borrow from the hospital? I said, yeah. I imagine we could probably get any physician we wanted to come with us, unless they were in surgery. I said, great. I need you to find me an immunologist or an allergy specialist. All right. So they met down at the bottom floor of the hospital. They had gotten a police car. And the county executive had recruited both an immunologist and an allergy specialist. So they all got into the car together, and they started talking as they drove toward the monster. I said, hey, listen, guys. I think whatever this is, it's having a medical emergency. And the immunologist said, yeah, I was thinking about that too. I noticed it looked in distress. She said, it doesn't look like a human, but whatever it is, it's the veins really concern me. If you imagine that this is a thing like a human, it's got human proportions. Its veins shouldn't be sticking out in red like that. And the allergist said, yeah. It's definitely got an inflamed look. Like she was saying, this thing doesn't look totally human, but if you imagine it, if you extrapolate from what a human should look like, that big, it looks poofy. It looks poofy like I would see someone's eyes if they're having a severe allergic reaction. I said, all right, I think that's our working theory then. So if we imagine that it's something having a severe allergic reaction to something, what would you do if that was a regular size human that came into your office looking like that, except not huge? And they both said, apparently both at once, said, an EpiPen. That's what we would do. But there's no EpiPen that large. I said, what if we had several? Okay, but what would you do next? I said, well, after the EpiPen, we would give Benadryl. It would just be Benadryl. Unless the patient had an allergy or some other sensitivity to Benadryl, we'd give them a Benadryl. Maybe a double dose, maybe even a triple dose, depending on how severe it was and that kind of a thing. And if I said, all right, how much Benadryl can we get our hands on? How many EpiPens can we get our hands on? And I just said, well, we can get our hands on as much Benadryl as you want. We've got to get it up there somehow. EpiPens, I feel like we could put our hands on 20 without depleting the hospital supplies in an emergency way. Let's do it. So they drove back to the hospital. They were only got about 5 minutes away. The allergist went and got all the EpiPens that he could gather without, completely depleting the hospital supply. The immunologist went and got a bunch of Benadryl. They decided that Benadryl in a liquid form would be good, but they also got several boxes of pills. And they sat in the parking lot there, combining all of the Benadryl into a big pouch made of crepe paper. It was about the size of a human head. And the plan was, Ollie was going to sneak up and climb onto the ogre. Get up there, and then they would, a couple of the really brave SWAT team officers would jab the ogre with a bunch of EpiPens. And when the monster yelled, when the ogre yelled in response to that, Ollie would toss the Benadryl down the monster's throat. It was a crazy plan. It wouldn't have worked except that there were some officers who were willing to take that risk. So they all got ready. The allergist showed the officers how to use the EpiPen, how to get it in there right away. And they all, it was about 6 of them, Ollie and 5 officers. They all snuck toward the ogre. The ogre was now not running around, but sort of walking around, stumbling around. Still the fairgrounds. It had smashed the side of an office building, but then it came back again to the fairgrounds, I guess because it was wide open spaces. It came near the cow barn, and it climbed up on the roof. When the monster was dazed and not looking, Ollie jumped and grabbed onto its back and climbed up. He was hoping that the monster was too dazed to notice it. Otherwise he could get swatted like a fly. But he landed and the monster didn't seem to notice. The ogre didn't seem to notice. He got up there. And he decided the safest place would be on the monster's collarbone. He got up there and he signaled to the officers. Then all 7 of them rushed out with 2 or 3 EpiPens in each hand. Got near, luckily the ogre's ankles were exposed. And they ran up, and they all started jabbing the EpiPens into the monster, into the ogre. And they could hear the EpiPens go and deploy. The EpiPens, they put a medicine into your body that helps your body kind of calm down from an allergic reaction. They really decided to go all in on this allergic reaction theory. As they drove closer, the immunologist and the allergist had done what they could to examine the ogre, imagining that it was a person. And they both agreed it did look a lot like an allergic reaction. Well, just as predicted, when the officers stabbed the EpiPens in, the monster gave a big yell. And it kicked out, but the officers just barely dodged. One of the officers got kind of thrown into a side of a dumpster. So he's kind of bruised up, but he was okay. While the ogre was screaming, he leapt up, grabbed onto the chin, swung, and tossed the Benadryl down into the monster's gullet. With a loud Benadryl went down. At that, the monster was suddenly thirsty. It tromped over to the creek there, started sipping in big gulps of the water. Ollie and the officers had retreated back to where the doctors were. And the allergist said, "This is good. This is good. It's drinking the water. That's going to, break up the medicine and help it disperse. And that liquid Benadryl we included, that should start taking effect pretty quickly. In a human, liquid Benadryl can start to bring relief in 5 minutes. So I guess we just watch now." And watch they did. The monster got up from the creek and already seemed a little bit woozy. And it stumbled some more. It was getting sleepy. And then all at once, it sat down with a big thud. Didn't pass out, but it sat and rested. And Ollie wasn't sure, but no, he was sure. The monster started to shrink. It got smaller, smaller, smaller. Now it was only 3 stories high, then 2 stories, then just 1 story high. And it got to be about 7 feet high. That's where it stopped. Now the monster didn't look so swollen. In fact, the monster was kind of, the ogre, was kind of skinny and bony. And it looked tired, but not as confused. So Ollie decided to be brave. He walked up. He said, "Hello? Are you okay?" The ogre gave a big yawn. I'm not quite sure what's going on, to be honest with you. I'm in a parking lot. I'm not in my swamp. Sorry, where am I? What's happened? After talking for a little bit, they figured out that the ogre had been exploring some new trees and had eaten some kind of fruit. He even still had a little bit in his pocket. One of his pockets that survived growing, expanding, and shrinking back down. The allergist came and took a sample of that fruit. Said, "Tell you what, if you want to know more, right now your system's full of epinephrine and Benadryl. But here's my card, it has the address. If you want to come, we can do an allergy test. We're going to be very careful. It looks like you have a very extreme allergy reaction." The ogre said, "Oh, yeah, ogres have strong allergies. This happened to my cousin. He didn't grow that big, but he grew 3 stories high. And he knocked over a whole village worth of cabins." "Doc, have you ever worked with an ogre before?" The doc said, "No. But the things I've seen today, I'm willing to give it a try." And that was the case of Ollie and the giant ogre.